Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and On today's show, we will react to the Derby d'Italia. Juventus won, Inter won, so there will be no big arguments between Nima and myself today, as there has been in previous Derby d'Italias. We will also discuss the dream debut for Walter Mazzarri as Napoli win at Atalanta. We'll review Milan's 1-0 win against Fiorentina. The big headline, of course, was the debut of 15-year-old Francesco Camarda, who made history as the youngest player ever in the history of Serie A. We'll also look at the Roman clubs. Roma are doing well. They win again, but it's total crisis for Lazio as they lose at bottom of the table Salernitana. First win of the season for Salernitana, and Maurizio Sarri's job is now very much under scrutiny, as he himself admits. We'll look at all the other Serie A games, and we'll also preview a big week in the Champions League and in Europe. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also now sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We will provide the link in the description. It's the same price, the same terms. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, on Apple, on iTunes podcasts, also if you're on YouTube, give us a 5-star rating, a like, a follow. It really all helps us to grow and do more content, quality content for you guys. So let's get into today's show. Okay, so obviously we'll start off with Juventus versus Inter, and we'll just discuss the actual game itself first, and then we can look at we can do segments on Juventus and Inter separately. So to summarise the game, from my point of view, I thought that Juventus started fast and deservedly took the lead with Vlahovic after previously they'd had a good chance with Chiesa. But then Inter fought back. They showed their maturity. They equalised soon after. And after that, the game, the rest of the half became a bit more cagey. I thought it was a good quality tactical game, the first half. Then in the second half, I think that Inter did start reasonably well in the second half. Thuram had a good chance. But after that, there was no opportunities for either team. I thought Inter were the better team after that in terms of possession and territory, but without creating anything. And Juventus went full Allegri, really. They just were happy to go for the draw, play for the draw. And I think as the game went on, I think Inter were pretty much happy to settle for that without over-exerting themselves. So in the end, I think that the draw was fair. I think if you look at the fact that both teams had two very good chances each in the game. Chiesa and Vlahovic for Juventus, Lautaro and Thuram for Inter. They both scored one of those each. The XGs were pretty similar, 0.6 to 0.8. Both made kind of defensive mistakes in the build-up to the goals, which were punished. So in the end, I think it was pretty even in terms of the big stuff in the game. And I think that the draw was fair. Would you go along with that, Nima?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think when I was watching that, the opening 10-15 minutes surprised me because I wasn't expecting Juventus to press as high as they did. I wasn't expecting Juventus to be as aggressive as they were. But other than that, I think the game kind of settled down into a rhythm which I think was exactly what I expected. This was a typical early fixture, Derby d'Italia. No one wants to lose. Safety first. Tactical battle. Two teams that respect each other. Two coaches that respect each other. No one was going to give anything away to the other. And it was pretty much on par with what you said. I think Juventus started the first half really well. I love Inter's reaction. Going a goal down. I thought it was incredible. That's exactly how I want Inter to react. That's how a big team reacts. No panic, no frantic behavior, just increase the passing tempo, move better, have more urgency but controlled, and then create 2 chances and score one. And then they actually looked like, well, they took over from to after that equalizer in the first half. And I felt like if anyone was going to score in the first half, it was going to be Inter. But then then we go into the second half, and it's essentially a very, very tactical battle, very evenly balanced. And, Inter had possession, but they weren't. It felt like Inter wanted to just have possession for the sake of possession, and then also give the ball to Juve to see, okay, well, now you do something. It really felt like 2 boxers in a ring who were just not going to go out all gung-ho on each other, but they were just, they were just going to, feel each other up and then end this in the in the final bout in February. Because that's how it feels like. I think this was obvious that Inter look at Juve as a main title candidate. Juve, they did not. Inzaghi has shown incredible growth this season and maturity, both tactical but above all mental. Allegri respects Inzaghi. Inzaghi respects Allegri. I think it's a very interesting battle between them. But overall, I think 1-1 was very, very representative of this game.
And I think it's a result also that both teams are probably happy with. From Juventus's point of view, they stay 2 points behind Inter. They stay in the mix. They have another big game in this season in which they haven't lost. I mean, if you look at all the big teams Juventus have played this season, they've either drawn or won so far, and they still haven't played Napoli, and they still haven't played Roma, unless I'm forgetting. So they've either won or drawn, so that builds confidence. And from Inter's point of view, well, they stay 2 points clear. They get they get a tough away game out of the way while staying top. And like you said, they showed that their maturity and growth. So I think in the end, I think both teams are pretty content at this early point of the season, still in November. I think if it had been March or April and Juventus are 2 points behind and we're in April, then they're thinking, well, I think Juventus or vice versa, Inter are 2 points behind Juventus going into this game in April, then you see them going for it more. But I think once it got to a certain stage of the game, 60 minutes, where both teams are thinking, you know what, let's just play for the draw, or let's not overexert ourselves and give it away. So I think in the end, I think both teams are probably quite content. I think. Let's discuss from the Juventus point of view first some of the big talking points for Juve. I'll start off with Allegri. Everybody knows that I've been a big critic of Allegri since he's returned to Juventus for being too overly defensive. I can't blame Allegri's approach in this game. I think that Juventus, well, for starters, as we said, they actually started on the front foot and they're actually pressing. And we saw that with the first goal they scored was actually through that kind of pressing in terms of, fighting to try and win the ball back quickly and then transition at pace. And that's how they scored the first goal. I think that Allegri's approach at the start was good. I can't either blame Allegri for going... I mean, I think he went a bit over defensive in the second half, but I can't blame him for being defensive and conservative in a game like this, where you're playing against a team who are clearly a better team than you. They've got better quality, got better bench, and also Juventus were decimated with injuries. I mean, if you look at their lineup, look at the midfield lineup in this game. I mean, they're playing Hans Nicolosi Coviglia, his first game of the season. And I thought he did reasonably well, actually. He did okay. And you look at, so you look at the midfield and even the defence, the number of players out. I don't blame you, Allegri, being, so defensive in the second half. Against a big team, against a smaller team, then yes, I am going to be critical. Like next week when Juventus play Monza, if he's this defensive and they have 35%, I mean, they have 35% of possession in this game, Juventus, which is too little for a big team. That's just the way I see football. It's not enough. But I don't blame him for that approach in a game like this because for the reasons I've just said. And at the end of the day, if you look at the bottom line in this game, Juventus had 2 big chances, Inter had 2 big chances. So I can't. I think at the end, you can't criticise for that. I know some Juventus fans are still a bit unhappy about how defensive they were in the second half. But to limit this Inter, who are a much stronger team, to with a decimated team, to only 2 real chances in the whole game, I think you definitely have to give credit for that. Allegri's maximising what he's got, and I think he is overperforming this season to be only 2 points from Inter. I know, obviously, playing once a week does help a lot, but I think he's you have to say well done to Allegri so far.
Without a doubt. I mean, you look at that lineup, you look at what he's got. This is the worst Juventus on paper that I have ever seen in my life. Even Del Neri's Inter was better. I was looking at Del Neri's Juve was better. I mean, I was looking at the squads. You can't tell me this is an atrocious Juve side. And he's got the maximum, literally overperforming. It's obvious that him and Vlahovic, whatever problems they've had, they've worked it out. He's building Vlahovic up. That's what I think from a Juventus point of view, to add to those things. I don't want to repeat what you said because I agree with them. But Vlahovic, above all, is someone that is clearly on the same page as him. He's building him up. He's working on him to improve him. And Vlahovic showed, for the first time in a big game, I saw him be able to play with his back against the goal, which is imperative for him and Juve. And him and Chiesa up front as a strike force is very, very good. And I thought Chiesa continues to take small steps in the right direction. And this Juve is going to hit form after Christmas. This is going to be one of those classic Allegri seasons. I think Juve are going to really hit their stride after Christmas.
We'll see. We'll see if he. We'll see if he can continue. So far, he's doing very well, Allegri. And he's. To be 2 points away from Inter at this stage, I think most Juventus fans would have signed for that at the start of the season. If he can continue this, I think if Juventus are going to really launch a realistic title challenge, then I think if they are, let's say, still only 2 or 3 points behind Inter come March or April, or let's say March, then I think they definitely have a chance. Not only because there's not long left of the season, but also because we expect Inter to be in the knockouts, the quarterfinal onwards of the Champions League. That is when the games are going to take it out of Inter from then onwards. So I think Allegri's. That's probably also why Allegri was happy to play for the draw. That's his view. If we can just stick with them till around March, then their extra games, their Champions League games, are going to take it out of them. We can maybe then
exactly. That is his. There's no doubt that's his strategy. But the tactical battle was fantastic. It was so interesting to see what he was doing in terms of how tightly he was marking Inter's the Inter wing backs, especially Di Marco. I thought it was incredibly important for Juve to minimize Di Marco's ability.
Yeah, Di Marco didn't have a good game, actually.
He didn't have a good game.
Yeah, he wasn't David Beckham. He wasn't David Beckham in this game.
David Beckham...
or maybe he was in some ways.
Well, yeah. No, but I mean, look, that's the thing, though. Di Marco's not a dribbler. He's not very quick. And what you need from him, he needs time to be able to deliver crosses. Juventus completely shut down Inter's left side by marking him tightly. They didn't give him a second. And whenever he got the ball, he was with his back against the Juventus goal. That was a tactical decision by Juve to mark Di Marco tightly, and it worked perfectly because it completely neutralized Inter on the left flank. And of course, with Pavard and Bastoni not there, who usually offer the overlap, Acerbi did well. I mean, defensively, I thought it was very good, but. In going forward, as good as as good a left foot as he's got, he's nowhere near as good in terms of overlaps as Bastoni would be. So I think Allegri handled this game perfectly tactically. If I'm perfectly
If
honest,
we look at the positives from the players' point of view, from Juventus, I have to praise Vlahovic. I've been critical. We've both been critical, rightfully so, because he just hasn't done enough for Juventus in his time. Well, nearly 2 years now, coming up 2 years, he's been at Juventus. But he was for the goal. He was great. Not only was it a great finish, it was a difficult finish as well. When the ball's coming across you, you're running onto it, especially with your weaker foot. That is a lot more difficult than it looks. And he guided it into the bottom corner, buried it. Great finish. But the build up in the way that he won the ball, but then he also had the composure and the confidence to find Chiesa, and then make the correct run and then, like I said, the finish as well. I thought that was good, and that's an 8-game streak without a goal. We'll see if he can build on it. The celebration kind of said it all, as if he was with his hands, as if to say, shush, kind of shushing his critics, silencing his critics. But not just that. I thought his hold-up play was much better in this game. Still not perfect. It's not perfect. He still had some moments where he miscontrolled some really simple balls, but overall, if you look at the number of balls he was holding up and laying off, he was definitely much better with his hold up play in this game. In fact, I think Allegri said it was his best game for Juventus. I don't know if I would go that far, but I thought he was Juventus' best player in this game for me. So I think we have to give credit for Vlahovic. I thought he gave De Vrij quite a few questions, posed quite a few questions to De Vrij. In this game, I wouldn't say he dominated De Vrij, but I think he gave him problems in this game, and that's what you want from a bit. He's a big guy, Vlahovic. He should be he should be throwing his weight around a little bit more, and I think he did do that in this game. The way he won the ball for the goal, but also just his aggression and his determination. He seemed more like he's been a bit defeatist in games recently. He played like a winner. He played like this was his pitch, I like that from him. I also like Chiesa. I liked him a lot. Obviously, he was fantastic for Italy, very important for Italy in their qualification in those 2 games. And his first half, he was excellent. Brilliant assist for the Vlahovic goal. He should have scored himself before that. That was the only other good chance Juventus had in the game, where he curled it over. He should have, but I think that it was very interesting, you say, from a tactical point of view with Chiesa. He was drifting a left a lot. If you actually look at his heat map, he was virtually playing as a left winger in the first half. He was a left winger. He wasn't playing as a centre forward, which I thought was very, very interesting. And I wonder if it was deliberate from Allegri, and maybe something that they should be looking to do more with Chiesa. Say, you know what, just push over to the left more. And when you need to come into the centre to assist Vlahovic or the other centre forward, do it. But in this game, he was drifting over to the left, and he's so much more confident. He loves it. He loves picking that ball right on the touchline, running at players. And there was a couple of free kicks maybe he could have got, and he was lively. He was sharp, so I really liked the second half. Juventus barely crossed the halfway line, so he really didn't. He didn't really do much in the second half. But yeah, I thought that he was very good, and it was interesting because in the build up to the game, and I know you would have loved this. There was this whole comparison with Yannick Sinner, who's the golden boy of tennis in Italy, and who beat Novak Djokovic on the Saturday, and then led Italy to the Davis Cup. They won the Davis Cup, which is like the World Cup of tennis. It's the first Davis Cup Italy have won since, I think, 1976, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a great, big day for Italian, big week and weekend for Italian tennis. And the whole build-up with Yannick Sinner, and all the newspapers were saying, Chiesa is the Sinner of football for Italy. And they asked Allegri in the pre-match press conference, do you agree? Is Chiesa the Sinner? Is he the Italy's Yannick Sinner? And Allegri said, but Chiesa plays tennis. Like, it was
Oh
just
my god, I love him so much. That man is just like the way I mean, it's just
It was typical Allegri. It was
it's very
typical
typical
Allegri. But yeah,
Allegri.
I thought he was really, really good. I thought he was really good. Other than that, I thought Caviglia did okay. I thought he did decently. I think everybody was painting him, building him up to be this big weak link that Inter were just going to cut through him, straight through the centre. I thought he did all right. I mean, I didn't think he was amazing. I didn't think he disgraced himself. I don't think he wasn't a weak link in the team. I thought second half he Inter took over quite a lot, but I wouldn't put that just down to him. I would put that down just to the mentality. He came off for Locatelli in the 60th minute. I thought Locatelli was very good actually when he came on. You saw the difference in class. I thought he was spraying the ball around well. But yeah, I thought Caviglia did decently. The only negatives really in terms of big mistakes in this game was the Lautaro goal. It was Rugani made a huge mistake. He come charging out as I say, like a fireman going to the wrong fire to try and make a tackle that he could never win. And he was then out of the game. He was completely out of the game, and then Inter had a 2-on-2, which they we'll come to Inter. We'll give them credit. It was a brilliant goal as well. Brilliant play from Lautaro with the movement. It was a great assist from Thuram, but it was
and Bremer got completely owned by Thuram in that one-on-one.
But this is what happens once you become 2-on-2 at the back. This can happen. But this was Rugani was a terrible mistake from Rugani, I mean Gatti got done by the Lautaro movement, but I like to give credit more to the striker for that. When it comes to movement, I always think it's difficult for a defender. When you've got movement like that, it's hard. You don't know where the player's going to go when you're in that situation. But Rugani definitely massively at fault for the goal. But yeah, apart from that, I can't pick out too many criticisms of Juventus players, Juventus individuals.
No, I don't think so either. I think they showed that they played to their strengths. They are building themselves up, and it's they have a goal, and that's to finish in the top four. And if they already this season can mount a serious title challenge, then that is a gross overachievement by this Juve. So we'll see. I still think that I think it's going to be between Inter, Juve, and Milan. I think it's going to be a 3-horse race. I think Milan will recover, or already have begun to recover. But yeah, no, Juve are positioning themselves in a very, very good place.
Okay, let's move on to just from the Inter point of view then. Obviously, we have to start with Lautaro. I mean, it's a great goal from the Inter point of view. It's a fantastic goal, and it's brilliant.
What I think is the most important thing for Inter from this perspective is that the way they react, the maturity they showed. If this was last year and Juve score that opening goal, there's no chance in hell Inter equalize. They lose that game. But they didn't. They were calm. They were assertive. They were. They weren't frantic. They were controlled. They acted like a big team, and they imposed themselves accordingly. The passing was sharper after the goal. They were more concentrated because I think a lot of the times there were a lot of simple, stupid, unforced errors in the passing, which is so easily avoidable, and you can't really afford to do that at this level. But they just upped the level, created 2 chances, equalized. I think the goal. I don't think it was a huge error like that at all. I think it wasn't like Juve's goal, who was created from Denzel Dumfries showing what a mediocre football player he is. But here, this was something Inter created from passing. It was a giocate. It was passing. It was movement. It was crispness. It was a fantastic movement from a move from start to finish. 9 passes, I think I counted to, and of course Lautaro. They know Lautaro loves the ball in there, like he wants the ball there, squared a little bit down, so he can run onto the ball with his right foot. And this is his Inter. It's clear he is the captain of this Inter. This is what he wants to, he's the leader, he's the central figure. And you saw that throughout the game. He was all over the pitch. He was helping out in defense. He was marking Vlahovic on corners and doing so really well. He was linking up. He was driving the ball. This is his Inter, and he is the captain, and he's taking responsibility. And another goal. I mean, if he continues like this, he's going to hit 30 goals in the Serie A alone, which is truly remarkable. I mean, 27 goals in the calendar year already, and there's quite a few games left.
He's going to hit 38 if he carries on at this rate. He's got one a game.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely unbelievable, and that has always been his weakness, the consistent goal scoring, and he's kind of put that away, and he's scoring important goals as well. I mean, this was his first goal at the Allianz Stadium, the equalizer against Allegri, an Allegri team, or any Allegri team, you don't want to go a goal down against them. But Inter reacted really well, and I thought.
And also, until then, he wasn't actually doing anything until that stage, and that's also in a way that's also a sign. Yeah, that's also the sign of a striker, of a penalty box striker as well. It was a penalty box move. It's a great move. It's brilliant movement. It's fantastic. See, I've seen a lot of people criticise Gatti. I tend to, in these situations, I tend to give more credit to the striker, because I know it's really, really difficult for a defender in that situation where the ball is coming in from the side. You're one-on-one marking with the defender, and what do you do? Because the defender has the advantage on you, because he can move, send you one way and then go to the other, and which is what he did. He sent him the dummy as if he's coming out or going to the flat post, and then he goes near. And it's really, I don't think there's too much Gatti can do there. Honestly, I think it's difficult for Gatti once they're in that situation. I don't criticise Gatti that much as a lot of people have. I think from Juventus' point of view, that the problem is earlier on. But with any goal, there's always going to be, even a brilliant goal like this from Inter's point of view. And Juventus' goal was brilliant from Juventus' point of view. There's always going to be a mistake in order to allow.
Yeah, but there are differences, levels to mistakes. What Denzel Dumfries did in the Juve goal was genuinely, astonishingly poor and abysmal. This guy, he's done good numbers this season, but he's just not good enough at this level, and you saw that again. I mean, he's a headless chicken on a level that...
Well, it was a technical error. He didn't control the ball, so, I mean, that's how he's lost it.
Because he's a technically inept player. He's barely Swedish third tier. I've literally seen I know Swedish third tier players who are technically better than Denzel Dumfries. Personally know them. It's astonishing to me how you can run like that with the ball. You got the ball controlled and you just run around with it like a drunk idiot on a weekend on a bar street somewhere. It's absurd. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the same thing again, his understanding and reading of the game drives me insane. Inter create and build something great, and Lautaro's apply the finish, and he's standing there like a drunk idiot. It's just, oh my God, the sooner this man leaves Inter, the happier I'll be. I'm tired of it. He's just in the way. In these games against the top teams, Denzel Dumfries is in the way. He can do it. He showed that he can do it against the smaller teams, and that's great. But Inter need to upgrade that right wing back position. It's getting atrocious. He steps on the ball like a toddler, time and time again. It's embarrassing. Come on. We were talking about Inter winning the Serie A, and the starting fullback for a team that's challenging for the Serie A, the favorites to win the Serie A is this guy. Come on. It's frustrating to watch, and it's getting worse it just doesn't get better. I mean, yes, Barella had a bad game in terms of passing. Di Marco was probably the worst player on the pitch. You can have bad games, that's fine, that happens. But it's the technical errors, the level of technical ability of Denzel Dumfries is not at Serie A top class level. It just isn't. And his read of the game is what pisses me off the most. How can you be so poorly positioned time and time again? And I think the broader point of this is, and I was talking to one of our patrons because I was watching the game with you, Juan, this is because football has gone away from skill to athleticism. That's why players like Denzel Dumfries can have a career. He's not very skillful, but he's athletic. And so he has a career.
I would agree with
10, 20 years ago, Denzel Dumfries does not even play in...
No, I agree with you there. I think you can say that about a lot of players in today's football. I agree with you there. I do. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, he's still been the best He's still been the best player in his position in Serie A this season, but he didn't have a good game, and he was at fault for the goal, no doubt about it. But so was Rugani. Rugani, that's as equally to blame.
No, it's not equally as blame, because Rugani did not give the ball away. Rugani misread the situation.
Yeah, but all Rugani had to do was hold back, and Juventus have 3-on-2. Inter don't score that goal, so he's just as much to blame as in fact I would say more to blame, because Juventus still had to create the chance and score it, whereas they're left 2-on-2.
For the goal as well, De Vrij was ball watching. That happens. Mistakes in goals happen. But when you create the chance, Denzel Dumfries created the chance for Juve. There was nothing there, and he created it. That's the difference. Rugani didn't create the chance.
Well, he did. He created the opening. You don't have the opening. The opening's not there.
He didn't create the chance, Carlo. Dumfries created the chance by running into the ball.
But the chance isn't possible if Rugani holds back. It's like it was the same thing we said with Scalvini when England scored that third goal, when he came charging out like a madman and then suddenly left all the space open. It's the same. It's the same with that. Rugani's been good. This season he's been surprisingly good. But Allegri said at the end of the game, it was very, very naive defending.
He is a naive defender, and he does it, but it is what it is. But
let's move on anyway. Let's move on to Milan now.
But I got to say though, for Inter, just Marcus Thuram,
yeah,
Inter don't keep this guy. Like, he is world class. This is seriously. If he starts scoring and finishing off chances, because he had 2 or 3 chances where he should have done better, but if he starts scoring and becoming a 25-30 goal a season striker, he has everything else. His link-up play is outstanding. His technique, dribbling, his read of the game, his passing, his timing. I'm sorry, Inter fans, enjoy this while you can, because this guy, I think someone's coming in the summer for him. If he continues like this,
yeah, he's been great. I think it's too early to call him world class, but
he's been world class so far. You can't tell me that so far he's not been world class. He has been world class so far. Whether or not he can maintain it throughout the season, we'll see. But if he continues like this, the big dragons in Europe, financial big dragons, are going to come in with.
He does need to score more goals. Actually, Fabio Cannavaro said that this week. He said that goals are more important than assists for attackers in Serie A, which I'm not sure I agree with anymore in 2023.
I don't agree with
10 years ago, 20 years ago, absolutely spot on. But I'm not sure I'd agree with that now. But yeah, he's great assist again. He's got the most assists in Serie A. Let's move on to Milan Fiorentina now. This was not a good game from Milan in my point of view. I don't think they played well, and I think they were lucky to win this game. They had they created nothing really until the penalty that they got in injury time in the first half, when Theo Hernandez burst through and scored. And then I think Fiorentina, really, they were all over them second half, trying to get the equaliser. They created so many chances, and they couldn't put them away. And the same old problem for Fiorentina. They missed virtually an open goal right at the end. They had the whole goal to put it in. Mandragora hit it straight at Magnon, which was kind of a miracle save. So I didn't think Milan were good, but they got the win. I think Theo Hernandez needs to be given a lot of praise for that. I mean, the attack was doing nothing for Milan at all, nothing at all, which is kind of understandable because they had no Giroud, they had no Rafael Leao, but he took matters into his own hands and won the penalty, scored it, and he also created the only other really big chance they had when Jovic went through, did a great through ball, and of course Mike Magnon as well. He saved them. He saved them at the end, and we didn't know too much about it, but he saved them. But yeah, I didn't like Milan at all in this game, Nima. I'll be honest with you. Didn't like them. I thought they were lucky, very, very lucky to win this game. The Jovic, I think we can write him off now completely. I think we can completely write him off.
The thing with Jovic is, again, when things go too quickly, too fast, it can ruin a career. He was good at Frankfurt. And he wasn't good. He was great in his first season. He was it was such an interesting player. He had no business going to Real Madrid. That step was far, far too quick and too high for him. And since then, he's been invisible. The career is dead. And it can ruin a talented player's career. And I
It's
think
bizarre
it has
because
with
it's not like he's
Jovic.
had an injury either.
No.
Like, it's not like he's had a bad injury. Like, it's bizarre.
His development is so
Even when he went back to
soft.
Frankfurt, he was bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's very bizarre.
His development has completely gone to shit, and it just goes to show you have to plan your career carefully, step by step. If you take it too big a step, you can ruin it, and I feel he's done that here. I
Yeah,
really think he's done that here.
I agree. I'm also not. I'm also been very disappointed with Chukwueze so far in his Milan
Yeah,
career.
he's not had a good start.
He's not had a good start, and
No.
he's he gets the ball and he looks lively. He looks like he's got these little movements, but he doesn't really seem to penetrate.
Which is weird,
as
because if there was something I was expecting him to do was just that, to penetrate and be more sharper. But he's been anything
Whenever
but.
I hear the word penetrate, I always think of Klaus Schwab when he always uses the we penetrate the governments of penetrate. He can't penetrate like Klaus Schwab. Chukwueze.
Jesus Christ!
He can't. So it's that word, the word penetrate. It just reminds me. But yeah, he can't. It doesn't seem to really go past his
blunt.
man that well.
Blunt. Yeah.
He's lively. He's nippy. But he doesn't seem to really penetrate. He doesn't.
Jesus Christ! But he doesn't have bite. He doesn't have bite.
That's the word I'm looking for.
He doesn't have bite. His bark is louder than his bite. He's very blunt in the things he does.
In his final product, and I think he's got no goals and 1 assist so far.
Yeah.
And
it's weird. I expected him to do better, to be honest.
There is some quality there, so I don't want to write him off like I'm writing off Jovic. And you remember, if anybody saw the goal that he scored against Bayern Munich for Villarreal in the Champions League, when Villarreal knocked out Bayern, not last season, but the season before. Like, there is a player there, so I'm not going to write him off. But so far, he's not. Yeah, I've expected a lot more from him, and I think Milan did as well. I mean, that's why they bought him and Okafor for games like that. I mean, Okafor was injured as usual; he's always injured, but. This is the game that you want. You need Chukwueze to come out and do something, because Giroud and Leao are out, and these are the players they bought, because they didn't have these players last season. They would be playing Messias or Salamakers, so they bought Chukwueze to be an upgrade on these players, and so far he hasn't been. He hasn't been an upgrade on them, and they spent a lot of money on him as well. So yeah, I was disappointed with it. I thought Pulisic was decent, but the Milan attack was not good in this game.
No, it wasn't. But at the same time, they've gone through some difficult periods, and things have been difficult for them, and they've been heavily criticized, and quite rightly so. And they're trying to find themselves. And I think in that aspect, I think this was a step in the right direction for them. Yes, I think you can say they were a little bit lucky to win, but I feel like they were better than Fiorentina, and I think they deserve to win it, if I'm perfectly honest. I think if we go to Fiorentina, like people,
it's just the same problem with Fiorentina. It's just we repeat ourselves as the every single
Groundhog Day.
Fiorentina didn't deserve to lose this game. You look at the XG; they had a much higher XG than Milan. They created many more chances than Milan. It's the same problem all the time. The attack is just terrible. It's awful. It's absolutely horrible.
See, this is the thing, that I don't think that they play that well in attack. I just don't think Italiano is doing a good enough job. And I know, I agree with you in the terms that the attack is not good enough. No doubt.
They still created it. If you look at the chance creation in this game, they created the chances in this game. Other games, I agree with you that sometimes it can be a little bit, sterile and predictable sometimes. And
that's the word I was going to go with.
In that sense, on those games, yes, but you can't blame Italiano on this game. And look at the chances they created. I mean, Beltran was 1-on-1 and let the ball roll, and then had a touch like a Lukaku at Man United. It was horrible. And then the chance at the end with Mandragora. How can you miss that chance at the end? You've got the whole goal to put it in. Put it the only place that the keeper can save. The XG on that Mandragora chance must be like 0.99.
That's a bad miss.
It's terrible, but then you do have the lack of quality as well. Beltran's really not been good at all. He hasn't even scored yet in Serie A this season. I spoke to Dan Edwards, our friend of the show, who's the big expert on all South American football. he said to me, he goes, I didn't expect him to be a success at Fiorentina, and he's rarely wrong, Dan. So that doesn't bode well, I think. Unzola was a handful. He actually was
He's
a
always
handful,
a handful.
but
Technically,
that's
sweet mother of God.
When you're calling someone a handful, I think that's immediately kind of telling you kind of quite a lot about what kind of player they are, So yeah, and Sotil, I mean, just nothing. He is the epitome of a headless chicken. He just runs. He's like Gary Neville once said. He runs around. He's like when you're controlling a FIFA player without the control pad. It's just brainless. So yeah, and then Italiano. I think Italiano said it at the end of the game. He says, "I don't know if it's talent, ferocity, determination. I just know that with this second half, we cannot go home without even scoring a goal, at least one goal." It's disappointing. You come to San Siro, you pin Milan back in their own half, you don't get anything to show. They're the next G of over two in this game. So very frustrating from Fiorentina. But we're going to say this. Yeah. We're going to repeat ourselves all season.
No, we are, and I think that, but the Nico Gonzalez is just.
He was wasteful as well in this game.
Yeah, but he was
very wasteful.
Yeah, but he's a quality player.
He's an amazing player, but he was wasteful as well.
If he played for Milan would be, I think, for me, that's the final missing piece of the purely jigsaw puzzle is Nico Gonzalez on the right-hand side for Milan. If they are able to sign him with Leao on the left, they will have. I mean,
I think Napoli as well. I think he's good enough for any of the big teams. He's good enough for anyone in Serie A. He's that good. He's
so good. And the thing, he's so good in the air as well. Like people don't overlook that. I think Nico Gonzalez is fantastic.
Yeah. But he was wasteful as well. He had some good chances himself that he should have done better on. So I'm not going to absolve him from criticism.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there was. What did you
think? What did you think of the Ruben Loftus-Cheek incident when it hit his hand? Because for me, it's a difficult one. And Italiano admitted this at the end of the game. He said, "Look, if it hits the body first and then onto the hand, it's not a penalty," which is true. That's in the rules. Yeah. But what about if your hand is already in a very, very unnatural position, which it was. It was out to his side. So I'm a bit unclear on that.
I think it's a difficult, because I mean the referees always say, don't they, that you have to look at the whole situation as a whole. There's also the aspect of deliberate, unnatural position. There's so many different factors to take into consideration. I think it's one of those situations where you can't complain if it's given. You can't really complain. You can argue it both ways. To me, I think it's a very, very tricky decision. I do think it's clumsy of him to have his arm out there, and I'm more inclined to giving it because of the position of his arm or hand. But it's
that's what I mean, because imagine.
But then again, I look at it and it goes off his thigh. Like, what if that's deliberate? Then he's a magician.
Well, it's not deliberate, but that's not important, is it? Yeah.
No, well, it is important. There is that aspect of it, and it's like, oof. It's, I don't know, man.
It's a difficult one. I would like a referee to explain this one to me, because this has happened a few times where it's come off the part of the body onto the hand, which means it shouldn't, in law, be a handball. But because it's in such an unnatural position that, should it be a penalty? So yeah, I would like a referee to explain that one, because it's a difficult one for me. Francesco Camarda, though, that was the big talking point going into the game, and he did come on. So Francesco Camarda breaks the record as the youngest Serie A player of all time, 15 years, and I can't remember how many days, but it wasn't the number of days that the Serie A official account put out on we'll come on to that, on Twitter, but he becomes the youngest player ever to make his debut in Serie A, surpassing Wisdom Ame, who debuted, I think, 2021, I think it was. He came on in the 83rd minute. He ended up playing 7 minutes plus 7 minutes of stoppage time, so a good 14, 15 minutes. How many times do you think he touched the ball, Nima, in this game?
Barely once.
He touched the ball once, and it was a defensive touch as well, when he was chasing after the ball and kind of got a nick on it, trying to win the ball back. So he actually didn't didn't have possession of the ball once in the whole game. So there's kind of like not much to say about it, because that's how much like it was all Fiorentina, that they were just in the Milan half, so he didn't even barely get a chance. But I mean, it's a great story. It's an amazing story.
Look, I think Milan, I'd like Milan to protect him a little bit more. I don't like the way, it's a cool story, like you said, it's fun, but he's only 15. Okay? He's only 15, and he needs to be protected. He needs to continue playing where he's playing and scoring there and developing and slowly being built up, because like we said with Jovic, if the step's too big, you can destroy a career, and I don't want a career that hasn't even begun yet to be destroyed. We've seen this in the past as well with players that aren't ready to play at a level, and they're called on, and it's a great story. I'm happy for his family, and the images of his mother and father crying in the stands were beautiful. They were so proud. I mean, it's fantastic. But let's let him develop in peace. You know, it's so Italian. It's so typically Italy. We don't let any youngsters play, and then we go after 15-year-olds. I mean, it's just like, do you know what I mean? Like, can we do this with moderation, please? But yeah, it's a great story. It's a wonderful. You know, it's a nice story, but I'd like Milan to protect him. I'd like him to be able to play with the under-19s first, to the under-21s maybe. You know, that.
Well, he is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, let him play with the older youngsters. Do not throw him in the deep end in the Serie A.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to an extent they played him because they literally had no one else.
Oh, I get that. I mean,
so in this sense, it was, and
it's only 7-8 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was kind of enforced, and I don't think he will play that much once the players come back. I mean, Giroud will be back for the Champions League game, and but then again, I don't know. Jovic is the only player you've got. I mean, yeah.
But come on. Jovic can play, like, who knows, he might even score. I mean...
he might even score, yeah. Yeah.
But Camarda's only 15 years old. Like, come on.
I mean, he's done amazing things for the youth team, over 500 goals. And if anybody saw the goal that he scored against PSG in the UEFA Youth League a couple of weeks ago, so you'll see what a special talent it is. But yeah, absolutely, yeah. I do think, though, that I mean, the one thing I do want to talk about, again, I'm sorry that we have to keep going on about this, but just showing how badly Serie A is marketed. You know, this is a historic moment in Italian football. This is the youngest player that's ever played. It was
the biggest talking point going into the game as well. Like,
everybody. This wasn't unplanned. For it. Yeah, this wasn't something that you'd be unprepared for as a marketing team, as a social media team. And then the Serie A social media team put out a tweet when he comes onto the pitch, and they get his age wrong. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, you've only got one job to do. Just the story is his age. That's the story. The fact that he's the youngest player in Serie A history. That's the story.
That's the story. That's the only talking.
That's the only thing that's important is his age, and you get his age wrong, and by about 4 months wrong as well. So not even close. Not like you're 1 day out. You know, it can happen. You're 4 months out. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've said it how many times. They can't sell a life jacket on the Titanic, these people. And then the follow-up tweets were just as bad, just as bad, embarrassing. They put out a list of they put out a tweet which was horribly presented, with no emojis, just a list of text, a block of text, no spaces, listing the things that had already been invented or come out before Camarda was born. And they put out a list of things, of the most random stuff. It was all American stuff. You know, this is going to a global audience. It was all American stuff. Like the American Office had already come out.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like, who
as
cares?
If that's some sort of life-altering event in human history, whether even if it's a life-altering event in American history.
Man on the moon, internet created. American Office has come out.
God damn it!
I mean, these people.
Bloody
who
hell.
the hell are they that run this account?
And they've conquered North America, Carlo. You don't understand it.
Yeah, conquered North America. Yeah, right. I mean, and then they put out this other tweet, and I get
Is
people.
he him?
I get people calling me a boomer, but I'm sorry. I've
are a
spoken to
boomer.
people. I've spoken
are
to
a
youngsters. I've spoken to kids. Is he him?
I've spoken to kids. What do you mean you've spoken to kids?
I've asked youngsters about this.
Spoken to kids.
Yeah.
What do you mean you've gone to like Bedford Primary School and
we have a youth. Listen, we have a youth offenders facility opposite opposite the cake shop. We do. We have a youth.
Have you been asking them?
Yes, yes, we do. We have a youth offenders facility that's like just literally opposite the baker at the cake shop. I know very well because one of them was joyriding about 15 years ago and they crashed and right off my car. It was parked outside the bakery.
Offenders office. Die. Across from the cake shop.
Yeah.
What do you mean you just waltzed in there and said, "Hello, young delinquents"?
No, they're always outside. They're drinking the cans of Foster's outside. No,
he just went
none
up to
of them had heard of this. Is he him? It's obviously an American thing. It's obviously something that Americans use.
I think it's an NBA thing, from
Yeah.
what I understand. And I don't watch basketball because I think it's the most boring sport in the world. But
you're catering to a global audience. You do not cater to the audience of one country, and that's it. That's simple as that. If you're trying to grow your team, you're not only focusing on America, but the marketing team that are running the Serie A now seem to think that only America exists, that nothing else exists. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Is he him? What the hell is this? What does it mean? And then they quote tweet it and put yes he is or something. I mean, what is this? I mean,
oh my God.
Even if it's a thing in America among the youngsters, I'm sorry, your patrons.
I'm gonna die. Oh my God.
Do you agree with me, Nima?
Look, I've seen people do this on Twitter for a long time, so I've seen it before. Like, is he like the thing is he the man? Is he the main man? Like, that's what they're trying to go with. And is he him?
Well, he's not even a man.
Well,
he's a boy.
That's the thing. He's 15 years old and he had one touch in 10 minutes. So therefore, taking these victory laps over a 15-year-old who had one touch is ridiculous. If he'd done like Palosky, and in his debut with his first touch he scored the goal, or whatever, then I understand the narrative pushing because you want interactions with your social media account. Get that. But he had one touch in 10-12 minutes. He was 14, he didn't do anything special. Yeah. Like, it was a nice story. But is he?
No, I have no problem with hyping him up because I do think it's a great story. Yeah. I do think it, and I know we have to be careful, but I have no problem with making putting tweets out, celebrating this historic moment. But that's the whole point. It's how it's the whole execution. It's just embarrassing. You get his age wrong, then you put out some random, like you say, moments that are not life-altering moments, and then you put out a tweet like this: "Is he him?" Which is not the way that you do not sell. That's not the way that you sell and market to a global audience. Putting out something that only Americans or people that follow American sport are gonna understand. I mean, it's just.
No, it's an English. If you do it in English, you should do.
It's the kind of thing that we laugh at. When we say that the English are very myopic, the English media, and like
about the Premier League,
about the Premier League, but also like just the way that the people, the producers, and the executives that run the football media, the English-speaking football media around the world, and you get it even with some commentators that are on, say, like the World Feed, for example, and they're English, and they give references that only people in England will understand. They talk about cricket, or they talk about things like that, and it's like. You're catering to a global audience. You don't do stuff like that, and that's exactly. This is an example of that. To an American thing.
I agree.
Anyway,
but it was. But I mean, I've seen it for many years on Twitter. Is he him? And then quote tweeting it. Yes, but to me, that whole thing feels like you're high fiving yourself, which is incredibly cringe to me. It just, the whole thing was just whatever. But it's a fun story.
Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know.
You reckon?
Maybe I'm just getting old.
You
but I'm
reckon?
sorry. I think it's stupid.
It's a bit silly. But he didn't do anything. I mean, had he done something, then fine. But whatever. No, but I think it's a good story, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his family, and it's good for Milan's youth academy as well, and their entire setup to have someone at that age to show that for everyone else or his teammates to have something to, that if you do well, if you work hard for a longer period of time, if you can actually get that chance, that the door is not completely shut. And I think that's a very positive thing.
Yeah.
So, but I want Milan to protect him now, and to let him play with the under-21s, under-19s, and so on, and protect the kid, because he has talent. There's no doubt, But please take care of him. Like, don't burn him out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right. Let's move on to Napoli. So it's a dream debut for Napoli, for his as coach of Napoli, and Napoli win 2-1 at Atalanta. And I think he did pretty well for his debut. I thought Napoli did pretty well. I thought it was we saw straight away. I spotted this within 5 or 10 minutes of a much more solid Napoli, a team that was much better organised, was less open, the defence more solid, but closer together. This is something that I was most critical about with Rudy Garcia, was the gaps between the defence and the midfield and the attack. And as any kind of great coach will tell you, something that Arrigo Sacchi has always hammered on about for decades, and something that Spalletti has always said himself as well, that the gaps between each department in the team has to be very compact and tight together. And that was something that we didn't have at Garcia. Certainly on the transitions, the teams and the departments of players were pulled all the way out of position. We saw that straight away, that the team was a lot tighter together. And even though that definitely took something away from Napoli's attacking game, in terms of like Atalanta, I mean, I think Atalanta didn't create a single chance until injury time of the first half. And as the game as a whole, I thought, Atalanta were pretty limited. I thought Atalanta were better in the second half. They come out a lot better in the second half, but I thought that Napoli were a lot more solid, and they created enough chances to win this game. So I think it was a pretty good start for Mazzarri.
It's a typical Mazzarri start that you'd expect from Mazzarri. Mazzarri, look, he's a traghettatore. He's brought in here to bring this ship into harbor, to finish in the top four, to finish respectively, respectfully, end the season and do something decent. And he knows how to organize a defense. He knows how to create organization. He knows how to create structure. And he has the attacking quality up front, which he had with the three tenors back in his first stint. He gives them creative freedom. He gives he'll give Osimhen, Raspadori, Khvicha, all these guys creative freedom in the final third, like he did with the Cavani, Hamšík, and Lavezzi. But what he does is provide a very stable framework defensively and organization-wise for Napoli. So that they have a level to stand on and build from, and that's exactly what we saw. He is organized. He is tactically solid, Mazzarri. So, and he knows Napoli. He knows the fan base. He knows the club. They like him. I mean, he was, again, let's remember, Walter Mazzarri won the first trophy under the De Laurentiis era, their first trophy since the Maradona era. Mazzarri brought them back to the European Cup, the Champions League, finished second with them, which is something Napoli don't do historically very often. So he knows what it takes, and he has credibility at the club. He has credibility with the fan base in the city. So, I expect Napoli to easily, comfortably finish in the top four now. They could even, who knows what he can do in cup games and
yeah. No, I thought he had a good first game. I thought they looked pretty solid. I thought spell in the second half, I thought Atalanta did well, but you expect that. Atalanta are at home; they're a good team. Atalanta are gonna have their spell in the game, and I thought they were much better in the second half, Atalanta. But then his substitutions paid off The Garcia substitutions were a total disaster and frankly bizarre at times. The games where he was taking off Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia. I mean, his double substitution worked. Osimhen and Elmas came on. Osimhen got the assist. Elmas scored the goal. It was a good
Osimhen
start.
coming back for Napoli he is so important. And Kvara as well, looking so amazing.
Amazing at the moment. Amazing.
I love
Did you see him over the international break?
Yeah.
I mean, the 3 goals against Scotland and Spain. I mean, he's fantastic. The negative, of course, was the Oliveira injury, but luckily it's not. I think there was fears it could be an ACL, but it's not. But he's going to be out for a while. But that's a negative. Let's move on to the Roman clubs. So Roma win 3-1, and they continue their good form. I think now, Nima, I think it's a 5-horse race for the top 4. I think Roma are going to be there or thereabouts. I mean, I think they're going
to be there or thereabouts.
I think they're going to challenge. I mean, look at their results. Look at their form. They are consistently picking up results now. So I think, don't sleep on Roma. I think they're going to be dangerous for the.
They are going to be dangerous because they have very good firepower up front.
Yeah,
and we saw that the Dybala goal was just stunning. The link-up play between him and Lukaku is just unbelievable. It was so beautiful. It was lovely move. No, look, they have the quality. I give Roma quite a good chance to go far in the Europa League. I think what they lacked last season was a little bit was attacking. They didn't have that edge up front. They have that now, and Lukaku is working in an environment where he seems to be happy. And Dybala and him are working really well together, and I think Mourinho knows this will be his last season, and everyone knows it. But he's still, he's motivated. He's got everyone else motivated.
They're only 3 points off the top 4. They're only 3 points behind Napoli and 5 off in Milan. If it hadn't been for that disastrous start when Lukaku hadn't joined yet, hadn't played, and they lost those first games, they'd be in the top 4 now. So I think I think don't sleep on them. I think it's definitely 5 playing for 4 places.
I think they'll be thereabouts, but I still think Napoli, Milan, Juve, Inter are
favourites, yes, but
they have the edge. I think they have the edge over Roma. I think Roma will finish 5th clearly. I think it's going to be a clear fifth spot finish.
And the reason for that is also because Lazio are. I mean, this isn't just a bad run of form now. I think this looks like something that probably is going to last the season. I think they lose to Salernitana 2-1. Salernitana's first win of the season. They hadn't won a game all season. Lazio were dreadful again in this game, and they barely deserved anything from this game. They probably deserved to lose, and this is something that everyone was bad. I mean, Immobile scored the penalty, but again, nothing. The attack, nothing at all. The attack. This has been the most worrying thing for Lazio. The attack is offering nothing at the moment. Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson. Zaccagni got injured as well. Lazio have only scored 4 goals, and I saw our patron, our good friend Stephen Moore, tweet this. In their last 6 games, Lazio have scored just 4 goals, 3 of which have been penalties, and that really does sum it up. They don't look like creating anything. They look so slow and pedestrian going forward, and sterile again, to use that word. And we've seen the defence is not the same as like everything about Lazio this season is it's all been bad really this season. Every department of the field, the midfield hasn't been good. But they don't even have more possession than the opposition, which is what you expect from Sarri teams. The new signings haven't really. I mean, Tati Castellanos has shown some spark, but really the new signings haven't worked. It's bad. It's bad. And now the question is, what about Sarri's future? He even said at the end of the game, I'll quote him, he says, "Something clearly is not working. If I was certain that I was the problem, then I would immediately step down. If over the next few days I evaluate and find that it is my fault, I will be the first to take the decision to walk away by speaking to the president." So, he's putting the question out there.
I don't. I don't understand. I look at this and I just don't get what's going on. I really don't understand what's happening with Sarri and Lazio. I'm really confused by this. I think I didn't expect it to go like this, and I don't know. Is it because the players don't believe in him, then, or is it a problem with Lotito? I mean, I'm confused by this. I'm really confused by it. But I do think it's like I said. It's he's a system coach, and when things don't work, it looks bad. I mean, when Contes, he was also a system coach. When his football isn't working, it looks awful and unwatchable. That's the thing. When these system coaches, their system either fires on all cylinders, or it just looks this abysmal. And this is where we are. And I don't know. Lazio have committed quite a bit to the Sarri project, so I don't know if sacking him would be the right move. But especially mid-season, because I feel like they would throw their season away. But I do think that if he's lost the dressing room, they have no choice but to sack him. It's a very weird situation. I don't know what to make of it.
The fans, he's losing the fans. That's for sure.
Yeah. Of course he is.
I said that to you a few weeks ago. I've noticed that speaking to Lazio fans, and also just seeing some of just on social media, some of the big Lazio, well followed Lazio fans on Twitter, Facebook. They're he's losing them.
Mm. No, I mean he's getting frustrated when he says that. When he says make those comments, that if you guys are not going to be professional and do what we can do, then I'm out. Then I don't need this. And I get that. I think it's. I don't understand what the problem is, but I think it's a mental glitch as well. I think their confidence is shot. They're very, very scared. They look scared on the pitch and insecure, and that's never a good look. And I wonder if Sarri and his communication could also be at fault here, because I think as much as you yelling and screaming and shouting, I mean, he said himself, I'm being harder on them. Well, maybe you shouldn't be harder on them. Maybe what they need right now is not that kind of communication. What they need right now is someone to talk to them and calm them down. And yelling and screaming and being hard, maybe not the way forward. I don't know. But I think it's a very strange situation. I didn't expect this at all, to be honest. I really didn't.
I thought they would definitely dip a lot this season because of the extra games and because they'd lost, Milinkovic-Savic and Immobile was a bit older. But I didn't think that they would be as bad as they have been. I mean, they've lost more games than they've won this season. They've got 6 defeats in Serie A this season already. They lost 8 in the whole of last season. So it's bad. It's bad, and it does look like it's something that's not systematic, but it doesn't look like something that is just a temporary thing. It looks
there are issues. They are
lacking quality though. At the end of the day, they are lacking quality, and I think they overachieved massively last season.
But this is a crash, and it's a crash where the wheels are coming off, kind of thing. I did not see that coming.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens against Celtic.
But I just got to say, as much as I want Salernitana to stay up. I'm happy that they were able to salvage something from this game after going a goal down. They needed that win badly. It was their first win of the season, and it really came in the nick of time, because now they have 8 points and they're just 2 points off safety in Cagliari in 17th on 10. So they needed this win. It was imperative, and that this is going to be an absolutely mad relegation battle, because we are talking 5 teams now: Udinese, Cagliari, Empoli, Verona, Salernitana, with Genoa and Lecce just above, floating above. and 3 points. So this is a hornet's nest. I really don't know what to make of this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Antonio Candreva. I tweeted this straight after. I mean, his goal, that goal is an absolute missile. It's an incredible goal. I mean, yes, it's a goalkeeper. It strictly is a goalkeeper mistake by Providel because it's straight at him. But the power and the late swerve on it is insane. And I've said it before. Candreva will go down as one of the best long-range shooters of the last 15 years in world football. There's no doubt about that. I would love, anybody's listening can find out the stats. I don't think it's possible to find them, but I would love to see the rankings of the last 10 to 15 years of number of goals scored outside of the area when we're not including direct free kicks. I would love to see what the rankings are. I'm absolutely certain Candreva will be top 5 in world football, probably top 3 for me, because the number of goals that he's scored from long range.
He hits the ball with this. He's got such a special technique, and the ball swerves all over the place. It looks like a beach ball. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just the movement of the football is weird.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's just got an amazing shot. He really has.
Very, very unique technique that he's got. But yeah, no, look, it was a wonderful goal, and I'm happy for Salernitana because again, they are. I really like their fan base. I love it's a nice story, and it's a cool city, and I think they're looking to the future. They want to build a new stadium, and no, I want them to stay up. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay, the rest of the fixtures. So Cagliari draw 1-1 with Monza. Empoli 3, Sassuolo 4, which was an amazing game. We had so many of these. Berardi scoring 2 goals, which led to Patrick Kendrick, our friend, spamming Twitter with Berardi propaganda. So that was a great game. That was great. And then Empoli almost made it 4-4 right after that as well. And then Frosinone, we're talking about amazing finishes. Frosinone beat Genoa 2-1 with a 94th minute winner from Monterrisi. What a season Frosinone and Di Francesco are having. And then Monday games are Verona versus Lecce and Bologna versus Torino. Just quickly reading out the fixtures for Europe. So Tuesday, Champions League, big night for the Italian clubs on Tuesday. Lazio play against Celtic in Group E, and Milan play against Dortmund in Group F. These are 2 must-win games for both teams. I think that, well, from Milan's point of view, if they don't beat Dortmund, I think we can...
Yeah, they're out.
Unless they're very fortunate with the results going their other way in both the last 2 rounds, they're probably out. It's a must-win game for Milan. They have to win. As for Lazio, they have to win as well. And I think we said this a couple of weeks ago. If Lazio are going to go through from Group E, they need to go through this week. We need them to beat Celtic, and we need Feyenoord to slip up against Atletico. If Feyenoord beat Atletico, then it will go down to the final game, and Lazio will almost certainly will have to win away at Atletico Madrid in Madrid in order to qualify. And I don't think the way Lazio are playing, I think we can safely say that's probably unlikely to happen. So
it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
no, they need to beat Celtic. They need to focus just beating Celtic, and hopefully a draw. Minimum a draw between Atletico and Feyenoord, but that Atletico beat Feyenoord. That's what they need to,
they need to win and hope that Feyenoord don't win. If that happens, Lazio are through. That's what we need to go through.
It would be a huge boost.
It would be a huge
boost.
Lazio
need. Yeah, Lazio need this. Lazio need this. They need all the positivity they can. And then after that, well, it doesn't matter because then they're through and then they can focus on the league and start to rehabilitate themselves there. So.
Exactly. Okay, and Wednesday games, Real Madrid versus Napoli and Benfica versus Inter. Inter are already through. They're only playing for top spot. If I'm Simone Inzaghi, I play my entire reserve team for that game.
Which I think you will.
Yeah. Because there's no point playing the first team because Real Sociedad, we can say, are probably going to beat Salzburg and they have a better goal difference of 2. So even if Inter were to win, they're going to have to win again their last game anyway. So they might as well, even if they lose this game to Benfica, they can still win their last game and come top anyway. So they might as well just play
head-to-heads. Yeah, you're right.
So they might as well just play their reserves in this game and focus for Napoli. And then as for Napoli, their stupid result, draw at home to Berlin, means that it's probably going to go down to the final game. But you know what I was saying? It might not be worth a long shot that Napoli could get a win in this game, because Real Madrid are decimated themselves with injuries. They've got so many players. They've still got a really strong team, though, to be fair. And Bellingham is back. But they are decimated. They've got a lot of players out. So, I wouldn't rule it out. But basically, Napoli probably need to win. Well, they need to win this game to qualify. Otherwise, it's going to go down to the final game at home to Braga, which is what I expect to happen. Okay, yes, and then the Europa League games, Atalanta versus Sporting, Servette versus Roma, both are almost qualified, and then Fiorentina versus Genk. Fiorentina need a win to qualify. In fact, we need them to win that game, otherwise it's going to go down to a final game, in which it could get a bit nervy. Okay, let's finish off with Baggio and Premface of the week. Baggio, who do we have for
Only one this week, Ruslan Malinovsky. What a goal for Genoa. It was like, that man's left foot is a jackhammer. It's just insane. It is one of the candidates of the goals of the season. The swerve on that ball, oh my God. And he hit the crossbar in against Frosinone as well with a free kick. Malinovsky's goal, just go and watch that. It's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. The thing, I mean, when you talk about Candreva shooting rockets or missiles, then what does Malinovsky do? It's nukes. I mean, it's just...
another player with one of the best shots of his generation. He's got an incredible left
What
foot.
A goal. Boom. There's not a goalkeeper. And the swerve on it as well. The one thing that I got to hand it to Serie A's YouTube, or the TV producer, they show it from the angle from behind where you can see the ball. It's just insane, the swerve, the way that he hits it. And it's pure raw power. What a goal. What a goal.
Yeah, insane. Premface, I've got two crackers this week.
Go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, Steve Nicol from ESPN, who was reacting to Italy qualifying for the Euros. And he comes to the conclusion that Italy are rotten, those are his words, and worse than Scotland. So those are the words of Steve
this guy. He's got to have, something has happened. Someone of Italian descent has hurt Steve Nicol. There's no doubt about that in my life.
I think Craig Burley's the worst one. I think Craig Burley's the one.
But Steve Nicol has, every time he speaks about something Italian football, it's personal for him. That's how it comes across to me anyway. Someone Italian has really hurt.
I would say that's the case for Craig Burley from what I've seen. Steve Nicol, I think Steve Nicol is your Premface, your classic Premface who's proud to be done. He's proud. He's like, the classic Chris Rock scene. I don't know their shit. You ask Steve Nicol gets asked something and he'll be like,
I don't know.
I don't know. He shrugs his shoulders. Proud. He goes, I don't know.
Proud of being ignorant.
And he starts laughing. I don't know. I don't know that.
It's
it's
nonsense.
like proud. Proud to be
proud stupidity. Yeah. Pride and dumbness. Pride and stupidity. Yeah, I know. It was so bitter. I listened to that as well, and it was like he was so angry and bitter, and it was like, what? It's weird.
Yeah. The other one is your best friend Nima, El Comandante Gary Neville.
Is he an actual human being, or is he a cartoon character? It's like, does he not? Trent Alexander-Arnold having the talent to be the best right back of all time. What? It's just, huh? And it's weird too, because I think when it comes to that Monday Night Football where he's on, where I think he shows tactical awareness to explain how things work and why they should. I mean, he's not stupid.
He's not. He does do some good tactical analysis. The problem is that at the end of the day, he's a shill for the Premier League. So he has to throw out the odd comment to blow things up to promote the Premier League. And
I still think the greatest clip video of all time is Gary Neville discovering what the weekend is. Not the band, but an actual weekend, as in Saturday and Sunday. He referred to them as mini retirements. and his podcast host goes, yeah, the weekend. Like he says it many times. Yeah, it's known as the weekend.
My favourite was during Euro 2020.
Mini retirements.
My favourite was Euro 2020 when he said that that Italy, him and Vieira, saying that Italy lack intensity and that they're not going to go very deep into the tournament.
But that clip of him talking about Trent Alexander, the thing is, he says it with such conviction and certainty too, and it's like, well, that's great that you believe in what you say. It's a shame that what you're saying is absolute nonsense. It's like, I don't know. It's weird with him, but he is entertaining.
He's not even the best. He's not even the best right back in the England squad right now. Let alone the best England right back of all time. Let alone the best right back of all time. Kyle Walker is a.
Did you see what Cafu said today? I don't know where this is from. Yeah. I died with laughter. Cafu going to town, saying, "I'm afraid the more we have Brazilians moving to the Premier League, the fewer chances for Brazil to win the World Cup. Imagine being brainwashed by the media every week that you are the best in the world. Meanwhile, you're not near the best. I prefer La Liga because they have a high mentality to reach finals and win them. In La Liga, they don't have a mouth in front of TV cameras telling lies about Spanish players or hyping them to the world. They speak football there, not myth." Which is just like, yes, that's it. Exactly that last part. Not talking real football, not myth. And it's I agree with that. I do think that the Premier League is the best league in the world, but I do also think he's right when he says people like Gary Neville and TalkSport just overhype all the time for no reason whatsoever.
Of course, yeah. I mean, Gary Neville, we know he's a shill for the Premier League. That's his job. Really, his job is to promote the Premier League. So he's going to come out with stuff like this. I mean, I'm not even going to entertain. And I could do a list of 50 right backs in history that are better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. So it's no point even debating it. We'll just laugh at him. Anyway, right. Let's leave it at that. We will be back. Nima, when will we be back this week?
Yes, since we did the Q&A pod for patrons on Friday last week, we won't be doing one this week because there's not been enough time between them, and we've not there's not been too many questions sent in, obviously, because we only did it a few days ago. So we'll be doing a full-on review show midweek review show on Thursday.
Big Champions League week.
And then and then from the following week, it's the same thing: Monday, Tuesday, Monday review pod for free for everyone, and then Q&A pod on Tuesday, and then of course Thursday. So please, until when we record next time, please make sure to send in your questions for the Q&A pod.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's leave it at that. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great week. We will see you on Thursday. Until then, ciao ciao.